Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our DAO1 midweek call. It's fantastic to see so many people jumping onto this call right now. I know that for some of you, it might be the middle of the day, it might be your lunch break. For some of you, you're at the end of your day. You finished work, you're helping getting the children settled, maybe you've given them dinner, and now you're taking time out to find out more about DAO1 blockchain smart contract technology. So I want to make sure that we spend the next hour really getting into the detail of the technology, really giving value to every person who's got on this call. Now, just to do a little bit of housekeeping, I've disabled the chat function because I know it can be very distracting. So I'm going to ask that if you want to ask questions or if you want to respond to some of my questions, please use the Q&A box that you have available to you on Zoom. We're going to be using that primarily for today. So as we dive into this, just a quick introduction. My name is Bruce Hughes. I'm part of the tech advisory team that helps drive some of the technology, some of the smart contracts that you will see on DAO1, as well as some of the contracts and some of the providers that are interacting with the Apertum blockchain as well. My role today on this 1 hour call is to have a look at DAO1 as a platform, to take a closer look at the technology and the contracts that drive services on DAO1, and also to look at the holistic picture of what blockchain is, what we're seeing in the cryptocurrency markets, and how DAO1 is positioned inside of that sector. So very quickly, before we get started, please can you rate out of 10 what you believe your understanding is of blockchain? 10 being, I've been around the technology for a long time, I've read a lot of different papers, I've done a lot of research, I understand blockchain, all the way down to one being, I'm new to this, I'm here to learn, I'm excited to see what this technology is doing, and I'm eager to learn about DAO1 and how it's positioned in the market. Because this really is a learning exercise. This is not a marketing presentation. This is not a sales pitch. This call on this Wednesday is designed to educate people. So I'm going to divide the call into 4 different sections. Section 1, we're going to have a look at the DAO marketing presentation. This is the presentation that most people will be exposed to first. It's very broad. It gives a lot of pieces of information, and it's helpful as a starting point. Section 2 is to unpack blockchain as a technology. I want to talk about the technology in broad terms. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about Ethereum. Let's talk about Avalanche. Let's talk about Apertum and DAO1. I want you to understand how DAO1 fits into the technology of blockchain. That's our second section. In section 3, I want to then go back into the detail of DAO1. I want to have a look at the exchanges. I want to have a look at the calculators. I want to take you into being able to audit for yourself the values, the contracts, the details that most people just ask someone else to look at for them. I want to equip you to be able to do that for yourself. And then in section 4, I'm going to talk about some possible next steps that you might want to take depending on what you're looking at and maybe what your goals are. So those are the 4 sections we're going to dive into. Let's go straight into section 1 together. I want to make sure that this call stays to just 1 hour, and I don't want to eat up everyone's time. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I've got 2 devices running. I'm going to jump onto my share screen, and we're going to have a look at the DAO1 presentation and platform together. So let me just move my own video out the way. We're going to have a look at the presentation that most people have been able to download or look at for themselves. Now, we're going to have a look at DAO1 as a technology. It's important to understand that DAO1 is a decentralized platform. It operates on the Apertum blockchain. And that means that there are smart contracts that execute value, they execute instructions, they move products and services between the users of the platform without needing any central authority or central corporate team or central finance team or central legal team giving anyone permission to do that. It's completely autonomous. And you can plug into this autonomous system, this platform, with your own self-custodial wallet. Just a fancy way of saying that you are in control of whatever value you decide to bring to the platform and whatever services you decide to interact with. That's what decentralized smart contract means. DAO1 currently has 3 key offerings. Key offering number 1 is a digital membership. We call this a DID. It also gives you access to automatic trading and analysis tools, and very importantly, gives you access to the Apertum mining bot. Now, again, we're going to go into these terms together. We're going to unpack some of this detail. For now, I would encourage you just to take notes, and then as the call continues, start seeing if some of the questions that are popping up are being answered for you. In order to plug into DAO1, in order to become a participant of this particular platform, there are membership tiers that people can access. This is a fancy way of saying here's a one-size-fits-all product that allows you to take advantage of or take access to, grant access to the 3 core offerings that are currently inside of DAO1. So you can access the Cipher copy bots, you can access the market analysis bot, and you can access the Apertum mining bot. And these different price points in these 5 different memberships obviously give you more value depending on how much you want to move towards this project and platform. So let's very briefly touch on each of the core elements that make up DAO1. The first one is something called Apertum mining. This is just simply the mechanism that releases Apertum out into the marketplace. A little bit like having an ATM in the monetary system. If you wanted to release money out into the marketplace, you'd go to the ATM, you would draw money, and then you'd go and spend it in different markets and different shops for different services and products. Imagine that Apertum has to be released in a controlled manner. It has to be released through a controlled mechanism. Apertum mining does this. And we're going to unpack this in more detail shortly. It is worth noting that the amount of Apertum that is released is limited. There's a very limited supply. Only 2.1 billion total. That means 100 million was given to the foundation for marketing, promotions, incentive purposes. The other 2 billion is released via this mining protocol, this mining bot. That 2 billion is released in what we call a control mechanism. So it's halved every 4 years, about every 4 years, the amount of tokens are halved. It is also released only through Apertum mining. So only those people who bought a DAO1 membership, they are the people who receive these tokens and can choose when to take them to the market. It is also worth noting that the Apertum itself has something called a deflationary burning protocol. So just in the chat function, let me know what you think the term deflationary means. Often we hear this term inflation, we hear our banks talking about them, we hear our politicians talking about them, we hear the economic papers talking about inflation. The opposite of inflation is deflation. And so when we talk about a deflationary burning protocol, as many of you are guessing correctly in the Q&A section, we're talking about a protocol that allows the amount of token that is in the market to slowly reduce in number. And this creates an interesting supply and demand relationship out in the marketplace. So we'll touch on that a bit more. It is interesting to note that Apertum itself as a blockchain is not designed to be a currency necessarily. It's actually designed for utility, meaning that as more products and services are built on the Apertum blockchain, the fee, the tiny fee that developers use, the tiny fee that is charged on every transaction, the tiny fee that is put into any movement in the blockchain is based in Apertum. So the actual Apertum becomes the same currency that drives value on all interactions on the blockchain. And every time that happens, a small portion of that fee, up to 50%, is also burnt out of existence. So we don't just have a currency here, the way people understand cryptocurrencies. What we've actually got is a utility token, something that can grow in value as its usability, as the demand for this blockchain increases as well. And we're going to touch on that a little bit more just now. I would like to say that at this point, the deflationary burning protocol is contracted or coded into certain activity on DAO1. This can be mining activity, trading activity, purchasing, subscription activity. It could be fee-based activity. There are lots of little movements or actions that take place on this blockchain that results in the amount of coins in the marketplace slowly decreasing in number, and so becoming more valuable or scarce over time. Now, there are some expectations out of the market based on us looking at previous projects like Bitcoin, projects like Ethereum, Avalanche, Solana, Polygons, other big cryptocurrencies. And we're able to look at that, look at the amount of users already that have come into Apertum, and we're able to extrapolate some potential examples that we might see out in the marketplace. Very, very simply put, if I was to summarize the last 4 slides, it's to say that as the demand for Apertum's utility increases, so too will the amount of Apertum being burnt off and used as gas. And so from that, we can expect a healthy economic environment for it to thrive in. The roadmap for Apertum is being constantly updated. In fact, we just released today a recap of the first quarter of 2025. We've still got the month of March to get through, and I'll share that recap in a moment. The foundation is releasing this updated roadmap every quarter so people can see what has been achieved already and what is coming next. And so people can understand the growth potential, the usability potential that is all coming through with Apertum. It's important to understand that Apertum itself has smart contract compatibility. A really fancy way of saying it has the ability to change how the internet works. So the internet is Web 2.0 at the moment. How we interact with the internet is very established. But what blockchain and specifically smart contracts are doing is they're starting to create this Web 3.0 environment. And smart contracts are integral to that because they can execute functions without you and I getting involved. They are corruption resistant. They are manipulation resistant. They are human error resistant. And so we're starting to see the internet starting to change, and Apertum has a role in that change, which is exciting for DAO members, seeing that one of the core products that DAO members are exposed to is a miner. And so the DAO members are in control of the amount of Apertum coming out into the marketplace. Now, one of the other products that we did touch on out of the 3 was a market analysis bot or analyzer bot. Simply put, this bot just looks at lots of other projects out there, projects that have the ability to really grow in use and grow in usability. And it identifies the potential of these projects and then gives options to the DAO1 community to maybe get involved with those and potentially grow in value as those projects grow. And then the third core product, as we've already touched on, is something called a Sniper Copy Bot. This bot executes trades copying other traders. So in other words, it actually isn't a trading bot itself. It is not going and deciding on what trades to open and close. It is simply looking at the top traders out in the marketplace, and then it's executing on copying those. And so if you don't have any trading experience, but it is something you want to maybe get into and learn about, you can start copying other traders out in the marketplace. So those are the three core offerings that DAO1 has started with. And obviously there's more and more being added all the time. So for those of you who do want to take a step towards the DAO1 project, if you want to maybe become someone who is mining a pertinent amount into the market, or you want to start learning about copy trading, or maybe you're just interested in analyzing different projects and dollar cost averaging into a wide variety of projects out there, we've got you covered inside of DAO1, and you can already go and set up your own self-custodial wallet with MetaMask or Ravi, and you can choose to connect it into and link into the DAO1 ecosystem. DAO1 has got all the technology already connected to it to become your one-stop shop. So there are things called bridges. We're going to chat about that. There are already one-stop shop products. So you can buy one product but already end up with 3 products inside of it. And there are other products that are coming into the market shortly once this, what we call launch period, has come to an end. So that is a very brief session one of just touching on for a moment the presentation that most people see when they look at DAO1. What I'd like to do in session 2 is go into some of the detail of the technology and help us understand some of the words or terms that we're seeing when we are engaging in any project, but especially the DAO1 project. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here at the whiteboard. For those of you who've been around me for a while now, you understand that I love drawing out pictures and trying to simplify some of these concepts. We're just going to spend the next 10 minutes together simplifying the concept of blockchain and some of these terms like a DAO or mining or bridge, to understand why this should be a technology that we should move towards. So let's dive straight into it. Let's go to the oldest of the blockchain technologies. In the chat function, let me know which you think is the oldest blockchain technology to exist. Another way of saying this is, what is the oldest cryptocurrency that most people have heard of? Okay, let me know in the Q&A function. Yeah, I'm seeing it light up. Okay, Fiona, Remy, Tracy, Ranj, Louise, a whole lot of people are getting it absolutely right. We are talking about something called Bitcoin, BTC, Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is the cryptocurrency that drives the blockchain called Bitcoin. What is a blockchain? A blockchain is simply a chain of blocks, transactions, that represent an accounting book. Let me explain it like this. This is one page in an accounting book. And on that page are written transactions. Bitcoin was sent from person A to person B. Bitcoin was sent from person B to person C. Bitcoin was sent from person Z to person W. This is an accounting ledger that is time-stamped and upkept in real time. And every 10 minutes for Bitcoin, because it's old, it's slow, every 10 minutes, Bitcoin makes a new page in the ledger, in the accounting book, and it writes down all the transactions that have taken place in the last 10 minutes. And so slowly what we end up with is a chain of blocks, a chain of transactions kept safe and kept visible for all to see. So if we want to go back and we want to look at Bitcoin, we can go all the way back into Bitcoin's very first page, and we can track the entire chain of transactions, forming what we call a blockchain. So that's the first thing that is helpful to remember. The second thing to remember is that there have been many other chains, many other blockchains that have been created since Bitcoin. Now, some of them are different to Bitcoin. Bitcoin currently, if we look at it, has become a reserve currency. So maybe in the chat function, type in the name of a president of a country who has made Bitcoin its reserve. And you'll be surprised, there's more than one. I think you might see one particular name coming through in the Q&A section, but he's just the latest one. So someone's just typed Trump, absolutely. Bukele, yes, he was one of the first 3-4 years ago already from El Salvador, correct. Okay, yep, amazing. We've got quite a few different people writing some stuff. But Bitcoin has become a reserve currency. That's been its use. We do have other blockchains that are positioned more towards being a Web3 provider. So they're not worried about becoming a reserve currency. Their focus is on providing a blockchain that the internet can be built on. And one of the oldest cryptocurrencies that really started this trend and became a big driver in this trend is something called Ethereum. So Ethereum is one of the oldest blockchains that has helped create Web 3.0. And we've seen lots of other blockchains since starting to kick off that are driving towards Web 3.0. We've seen Solana recently. We've seen Polygon. We've seen, I've gone blank, Avalanche. We've seen a lot of different blockchains and cryptocurrencies that are rebuilding the internet. And so to help you understand what a pertum is not trying to be a reserve currency at all. A pertum has positioned itself over here to be a Web 3.0 to help rebuild the internet and find its place inside of that new future, that new frontier that people are pushing into. Another good way to understand this is blockchains are like super highways. They move they move value, they move transactions, they record transactions, but ultimately they're like a highway of information allowing value or products or services to move through and be recorded within them. I want you to imagine for a moment that these highways of value can also move value between them. In fact, they do that through something called a bridge. So if there is USDT, which is a very common stable coin that is running on the Ethereum blockchain, it can be bridged across and run on a new blockchain. In fact, a pertum has been built to allow for bridge technology, meaning that it can take value that's moving on one chain and bridge it across and have that value moving on another chain. And that is done through a bridge. Let me show you something super interesting, and I'm not sure people have been watching this and understanding this. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go have a look at the DAO1 platform now. So we're sitting in the DAO1 platform. Oh, it is worth noting that there's a big call taking place on March the 6th. For those of you who want to register, there's a 9 a.m. time slot. There's a 6 p.m. time slot. And if you click on these little reserve your spot areas here, directly from the platform, it'll take you into a registration. We're just going to close that. Coming back to bridges, how to bridge value. If you go up into the top right corner of the DAO1 platform, there is a built-in bridge over here. And this bridge, let me just connect my wallet, so reload. This bridge allows people to move from the Ethereum blockchain. It allows people to move from the Binance blockchain, from the Avalanche blockchain, and move value into a pertum. But where it gets really interesting is you can track how much value has moved through a particular chain. So have a look at this. If we look at the Ethereum mainnet, we can see, what is that? We can see 1.8 million USDT of value is currently held inside of the Ethereum to Apertum bridge. We can have a look in the Explorer, and Explorer is just an open source ledger. It allows people to see all the transactions, but we can come straight into this Ethereum bridge, this contract. We can see $1.8 million worth of value is sitting in the bridge of Ethereum USDT, and that is interacting with the Apertum USDT. In the chat function, type yes, I knew that, or no, I had no idea that we could track every single value, even what is bridging from one chain to another. So value that is moving from one blockchain to another. Why is this exciting? Because usability is being moved from one blockchain that has a 10-year head start and is meeting a brand new blockchain. 10 years, only going into its second or third month now, and already 1.8 million USDT has bridged, preferring not to use this highway and starting to use this highway. Can you imagine what that looks like in 5 months' time, 6 months' time, 6 years' time? In very simple terms, it's a little bit like people saying, I no longer want to use a Samsung, I want to use an iPhone. And you can flip that around the other way. I'm not being precious on brands here. It's a bit like someone saying, I no longer want to drive a petrol car, I want to drive an electric car. And again, I'm not saying Apertum's an electric car because I've got views on electricity and petrol and we could get stuck on that. I'm just trying to explain to you that value or usability is moving from one blockchain into another blockchain. And that's very exciting. That means that there is an appetite or an awareness for using not an old technology, but a newer technology. Are we starting to understand some of these words that we've been hearing or seeing when talking to people? Now, Bitcoin, reserve currency, very old. These utility blockchains that the internet is being built around. Let's have a look at what that building starts to look like. So I want you to take a blockchain, a superhighway, like Apertum. Okay? And Apertum is a blockchain that allows people to build, interact, and move value through. Now, does that mean you and I need to become developers and coders and build things? No. For us to use our smartphones, we did not need to become developers and coders. For us to use our laptops and our iPads, we didn't need to become developers and coders. What we did is we learned to interact with an interface. Apertum is the blockchain. DAO1 is an interface that allows us to learn how to take advantage of this technology. Let's put it in another way. Apertum is the superhighway. DAO1 is the service station next to the highway that allows us to buy Pepsi Cola, water, a packet of Pringles, flowers for our wives on the way home. It's an interface, it's a shop connected to the highway that we're using that allows us to get products, services, and value. Yes or no, does that make sense? A superhighway and DAO1 is a place that you and I can interact with that highway without becoming coders or developers or anything like that. Absolutely. the point before, which was the bridge point, people who are traveling. All right, I'm needing to come through to you on this device now. Sorry about that. Okay, apologies. We lost the other device momentarily. But the point before that, people who maybe were traveling on this highway, so developers, coders, people who got value from the Ethereum highway are now also bridging across in order to use this highway and use the value inside of here. Okay, do we understand what bridge means? Do we understand what blockchain means? And do we understand that interfaces allow you and I to interact with these without becoming coders? Out of 10, very briefly, let me know in the chat function, 10 being, okay, I'm on board, I get it, this is starting to make sense. 1 being, I can't wait till the next call. I really need to learn a lot. This is exciting. I'm glad somebody else has built the server station so I don't have to. Any number in between is helpful. Okay, fantastic. We've got a nice range of numbers here. We've got 10s, we've got 4s and 3s, we've got numbers in between. This is why we have these calls. Okay, so DAO1 already has a bridge technology, or Pertum has a bridge technology. That's good for us. We interact with different chains now. DAO1 itself has its own store or interface where we can do core functions like mine. We can do core functions like copy trade. We can do core functions like analyze the market. So what we've got is a place that gives us 3 core activities to help us start learning. And more activities can come into this. We can see the launch of an academy soon. We can see the launch of other services, etc. I don't want to get into a big list right now. Let's go one more step before we go back into the platform itself, before I share screens with you. I want to just stop on this activity here. And I want us to go back to Bitcoin. And I want us to just understand something that is quite exciting. When I asked the question earlier, and I said, which is the oldest cryptocurrency, the oldest blockchain? Every person on here was able to type Bitcoin or BTC. I'm going to ask you another question. Here's Bitcoin BTC here. When did you first hear about Bitcoin? Put in the year if you can remember it. 2019, 2018, 2018. Let me know in the chat function and the Q&A function when you first heard of Bitcoin. Okay, 2012, 2015, 2017, 2014, 2016, 2014, 2017. Right, lots of people typing in basically the last decade. Okay, now let me ask this question. When did you buy Bitcoin? Which year? Which year did you buy Bitcoin? 2020, 2020, didn't. 2023, 2024, 2021, haven't yet. 2024, 2019, well done. 2018, 2016. Okay, there was probably a gap between when you heard about Bitcoin and when maybe you bought Bitcoin. In fact, there's probably a gap between when you heard about Bitcoin and maybe you've never bought Bitcoin. Somewhere in that gap, would you agree that the value of Bitcoin has increased? Yes or no? And if you're a mathematician, maybe let me know in the Q&A what that increase was. Was it a 2x increase, a 3x, a 4x? What was the increase before, from the time you heard about it to maybe when you first purchased it? And if you haven't, just let me know, from the time you heard about it to now. What has that increase been? Okay, we got some very colorful language coming through the Q&A. Yeah, okay. So some people have said, it's been 1,000x for some people. For some people, it's been 100x. For some people, it's been 9,000. For some people, they've just stopped using words that I can share because it's been large. And that increase has happened because of awareness, so people being aware. So it is now mainstream. And that increase has taken place because it has now created a usability as a reserve. That increase has actually also happened because of something called supply and demand. That's what it comes down to. If more people are aware of something, if more people want to use something, in other words, if there is an increase in the demand, and listen to this, and the supply is limited. I'm going to write this again. And the supply is limited, then what we've seen is a growth in the value of the blockchain and the cryptocurrency. Say that again. Because its usability has increased, because the awareness has increased, in other words, because the demand has increased, and because the supply is limited to only 21 million, because of those factors, we've seen a growth in Bitcoin. Let's go forward one step. Let's go forward. Apertum has looked at the Bitcoin tokenomics. That's just a fancy way of saying the token has certain economic factors that you can start calculating value on. Apertum only has 2.1 billion tokens. In other words, it has limited supply, just like Bitcoin. The Apertum can only be released into the marketplace through something called mining. Bitcoin had the same release mechanism. In fact, Bitcoin, in the first 4 years of its lifespan, released, let me work it out, 10.5 million coins. Bitcoin released 10.5 million coins, 50% of its total supply in its first 4 years. Apertum has the same mechanism built in place, where it releases a certain amount of coins, not every 4 years exactly. It actually releases them according to blocks, what we call blocks. So every 125 million blocks, something like this, 125 million blocks, which if it was 1 block per second would be 4 years. It releases 1 billion in the first epoch or 4-year period. It releases 500 million in the next, 250 million in the next, 125 million in the next, and so it keeps halving. In other words, the amount that is coming to the market is decreasing in number, whilst the shop, the usability over the next 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years increases. We've seen in the first 2 months, demand from one chain move onto this chain. 1.8 million just through the bridge. That's 1.8 million people who used to use the Ethereum have moved here. Would you say from day one to now, Apertum has increased in usability? Yes or no? Has it increased in usability? Has it increased in awareness? You're on this call because you're suddenly aware of Apertum. 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, you did not know what Apertum was. So we've got the same environment that Bitcoin put in place. We've got the same release mechanism that Bitcoin put in place. But we've got a completely different market than Bitcoin had. Bitcoin launched into a vacuum. No one knew what blockchain was. It did not know what cryptocurrency was. Did not know what the use of this technology might be. And Apertum, in just 2 months, has already launched its own shop or platform or ecosystem. It already has bridge technology in place. It already has something called a DEX. A DEX is a place that allows you to exchange value from one cryptocurrency to another. Let's go have a look at this together. I'm going to share my screen with you. Man, I love finding this stuff. It's so exciting. This is the nerd coming out in me. Okay, so if we go back into DAO1, and we come down here, we have something called a DEX. Let me just reload this. Okay. A DEX is a place that allows people to exchange two cryptocurrencies. So I'm going to show this to you in a moment. So if I want to exchange maybe USDT to Apertum, I need a place that I can exchange that. A little bit like if I go to the bank and I want to exchange pounds for euros, or I want to exchange dollars for Thai bahts, or I want to exchange yen for yuan. I go through a bank or a banking exchange. In decentralized platforms like DAOs, we call those DEXs. And there's already a DEX in place. So I'm going to share my screen with you so we can look at it together. We've got a DEX in place. And the first thing the DEX says, it says, if you want to be the bank, in other words, if you want to add Apertum and you want to add USDT as liquidity so people can do exchanges, you're going to earn 0.3% fee. So you get invited into taking part in adding liquidity to this exchange. We can then see which exchanges are currently sitting inside of this liquidity pool. Only $108,000 worth or USDT worth equivalent is sitting inside of this decentral exchange. That means very few people yet understand that they can become the bank, they can become the liquidity providers, they can earn of people exchanging value in and out of this DEX, this decentralized exchange. If we go look at some of the DEXs out there, they're now sitting in the hundreds of millions. They're sitting in the tens of millions. Some of them are sitting in the billions. And the people who went and put liquidity in there first are taking advantage of that 0.3%. They hold a percentage. They are the almost like, I don't want to say shareholders, but as liquidity providers, they're the bank. And no one's taking advantage of this. Only $103,000 are in there. See, when you start understanding that DAO1 is just a shop inside of a technology, and you and I can be the custodians of the coin that is used in the entire ecosystem, whether it's in DEXs or bridges or through the shop. When you and I start adding these pieces together, we start understanding the potential that we have sitting over here. And I do want to say that up front, it is potential. It's potential because, one, we've got to make sure that people understand that Apertum is here to be built on. So we've got to attract developers, we've got to attract gamers, we've got to attract people who are wanting to use and grow a Web 3.0, wanting to grow that as part of their future proofing. We get to bring them to Apertum. And one of the ways that we've chosen to do that is through DAO1. It's why there is a hard contracted, smart contracted marketing plan built into DAO1. Because the DAO1 members are being given exclusive rights to market the products, market the services, market the mining bot that you've seen. They're getting the exclusive rights to be the voice pieces of DAO1 and Apertum. And the foundation team, our job is then to engage with developers and gamers and coders in order to build further and further shops, build further and further activities, services, products, and goods all along the Apertum blockchain. You have first mover advantage and unfair advantage, and that you know about it already. And even just this small group knowing about it has caused the value of the coin, the demand on the coin, to go from 2.5 cents in value to whatever it's sitting at today. Haven't seen recently. I know the screen was up just now, but I was paying attention to what, the other stuff I was excited about. But who can tell me what the value of Apertum is at today? And that's not to say it's going to stay there. It might go down a bit. It might go up a bit. We've got central exchanges that are listing it. There was a big announcement by P2B recently. I know there's another announcement going out today by another exchange called Weeks. I know there's another exchange, OKX, that'll be announcing it shortly. Another exchange, LBank. Those are exchanges, public places that will create massive awareness around the coin. But it's also a place where people will trade it. And so we might see the coin have volatility. We might see it go up, come down, go up, go down as traders start trading it. The stuff that interests me is what is the floor value? What is the base value according to its usability? That's what excites me. This is what keeps me working with the team, advising on certain tech initiatives, advising on certain projects, platforms that we can start building towards and launching in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and bringing more and more use into the super highway that we've got over here. How we can continue to bridge value from other highways that maybe are getting older and slower. This is exciting. And DAO1 members, you have exclusive rights to Apertum coming to the market because you are the miners. Now, just as we start heading into, we kind of went section 2 and 3 there, but as we start heading into section 4, I want to just share a little bit on what we've learned in the past or what we've seen from the past. I had the privilege of mining Bitcoin years ago. In fact, there's a lot of people that I know who used to mine Bitcoin, used to mine Ethereum when that was still possible. Coins like Expanse, Zcash, Monero. These are coins that could only come to the market through miners. And here's what I saw. I saw people who would mine 1 week and then sell the following week. I'm going to say this again. They would mine in 1 week, and then in week 2, they would sell. What changes in value, in usability, in awareness do you think took place in the space of a week? Huge amounts of change in value and awareness and use, or small changes in value, awareness, and use? Little, small, not much, nearly zero. Yeah. Understand that when you're building with a project that is driving usability, the mindset of mine 1 week, sell the next week, that mindset is different to the mindset of the people who are building. Another way to say it is that the vision of the community of different people might be divided. You might have people with the vision for usability, for long-term, for growth, and you might have people who want to mine and sell. Having more than one vision having more than one vision is division or division. I'm just letting you know from looking at projects like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Avalanche, Solana, that the people who were in the project early and understood this, they were not mining and selling week 1 to week 2. The good news is the people who are doing this, who are giving their coins away, that's an opportunity for someone to sit on this side and buy, whilst the token or coin or crypto is still at $1.5. That's the good news, is that there are people out there who will mine 1 week and sell the next week. So they don't get it yet. They don't have your vision yet. They don't have what you know yet. They don't understand usability. They don't yet understand that a coin can go from 2.5 cents to $1.50 just based on usability, just based on a bridge bringing 1.8 million, just based on the sales that we've seen. They don't understand that if it can go from $2.5 to $1.5 just in this time, who's to say where we're going to end up for the people who have vision, for the people who understand usability. I am going to get on a call with you once a week because I want to obviously update you on what the platform is doing, how you can navigate it, how you can get this information for yourself. I want people who understand vision and usability to really take advantage of this, because we're sitting on something very unique. Now, just as I start ending off, there are some cool things that I want to bring your attention to. So a lot of people ask, how do I go about answering people's questions on how safe are the contracts? Can we audit the contracts? Can we see the technology? I want you to know that all of that is available to you already. So let me just share. There are 2 places where you can see everything you need to see about this project. One is the testnet. Now, why do I want to show you the testnet? The testnet is where you can test out contracts, not just you, other developer teams. So gaming teams or teams who need to bridge their cryptocurrency, or teams that want to build out NFTs, teams that want to engage with the Apertum as a technology, they have access to the testnet, which means they can build and test contracts. And if you look in here, have a look in here. I think we're up to 20 contracts already just sitting in the testnet that have been tested. Some have failed, some are being used, some have been redone, some are version 1, some are version 2. But I like to look at this at least once a week. In fact, we did a call all together, I think a week ago, and there were 14 contracts on here. They're now 20. This is a good place to see who's interested, who's paying attention. When we talk about usability, there are actually people out there who are using this and building on it and testing it. This is one place that I want to encourage you to come and look. And you can have a look at every single contract in here. Whoever is a coder and knows how to read code, etc., they can have a look at exactly what these contracts are and what they mean. The second place you can go to, you can navigate directly from your DAO1 site, and that is the main Net Explorer. This is the contracts that are live on the Apertum right now. These are contracts that are being used in a live environment, that are executing instructions, that are executing value. And these are also transparent and available for people to look at and use already. So that is the transparency, that is the auditability of the technology, allowing people to go and test bed and also see what is taking place within the technology themselves. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to touch on is pay attention to the news section in DAO1, because there is a lot of news that is being shared at least once a week. There's a big update going out today. In fact, I Let me just read the update. I saw the draft earlier today, but this is the update that you can expect to hear later today. Hugely exciting. Listen to this for a checklist. Okay. Q1 roadmap recap. You're going to see this in your news section. Potentially it's been put in the Telegram chat groups. If you're not on the Telegram chat groups, go onto your app.DAO1.ai site, scroll all the way to the bottom. You will see the social media tabs there. You can get into the Telegram group, into the Instagram group. Twitter, I think, is being uploaded as well. You can get these same announcements. They'll also be on your news section. But listen to this, Q1 roadmap recap. That's January, February, March. We're not even at the end of March yet. Okay, Apertum ecosystem launches. So we've got an Apertum testnet that is live, an Apertum testnet explorer that is live, Apertum mainnet that is live, Apertum mainnet explorer that is live, the Apertum bridge, which has ERC20, BSC, and Avalanche capability. We have wrapped USDT deployed. We have DID NFTs deployed. We have mining bot NFTs deployed, Tree smart contract deployed, rank pools deployed, copy bot deployed, mining calculator deployed. We have the decentral exchange Apertum swap live with liquidity pools and swap functionality. We have the P2B central exchange listing announcement already made, and we've got the week's central exchange listing announcement being made later today. We've got the new DAO1 products listed in the shop. They're not live yet, but there are more products coming into that shop environment that we've spoken about. We've got the social media platforms that have now been pushed live, and so there's going to be more chatter on there. And we have a Telegram sales bot deployed. In other words, we have a bot that tracks the selling of products and then notifies the entire community. It tracks them for 10 minutes. Timestamps any sales and pushes it into our community chat. So what do we have coming next? What do we get to look forward to in this quarter? We've got the market analysis bot going live. We've got the Burn Explorer going live. We've got more central exchange listings being made. The tutorial section is currently being updated, and this is exciting for the marketers in the community. We have a marketing duplication system that is going live this quarter. So what does that mean? That means you have a very narrow window that is getting narrower and narrower and narrower to take advantage of. Because if you are marketing, your unfair advantage, the fact that you know about this and the world doesn't, that's coming to an end. It's coming to an end because social media is going to get louder than you. The central exchange listings are getting louder than you. The awareness in the market is getting bigger than you, which means you will be competing against a larger and larger voice. Take advantage of it now. I want to thank you for your time. We're going on the hour. I'll make this recording available. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care and goodbye.